All right, everybody, week 5 of the TexAgs High School Football Show. Ryan Brauninger and Jason Howell joining you as we do every week to break down the latest in Texas high school football with a little bit of a Texas A&M slant, as we are employed by TexAgs, which covers Texas A&M. So the response to these, Jason, has been good so far. On YouTube, the comments, on the site, the comments have been really positive, and I think people are enjoying, maybe listening to us on their way to the games on Thursday and Friday. So I'm enjoying doing it. I love high school football, and I know this has been your life for, 20 years now?
Yeah. I'm a graybeard in this business, man. It's been fun. I don't think I can imagine life without it. So,
Well, let's get into it
definitely.
then. Week 5, we got to recap week 4 to start,
Yeah.
and we'll start like we always do with you up there in the Metroplex. What'd you see? What'd you like?
Well, I got to see Naaman Forest in North Garland on Thursday. Marcus Dill, Naaman Forest offensive lineman, defensive lineman. Naaman Forest has been off for the first 3 weeks, so I was expecting a little bit of rust. And my goodness, they came out and they were just ready to punch some folks in the mouth. It was like, yeah, you didn't let us play for 3 weeks, so we're gonna take it all out on North Garland, which came into the game undefeated. So Marcus Dill, I don't know if you got a chance to
Oh, I
watch any
was
of the
really impressed. I
highlights.
commented on your thread. He was really good. The more I
He's
watch that kid,
ragdolling folks.
and I don't know where he projects offense or defensive line, but he's an SEC
Uh,
caliber player at either spot, I think.
Let me tell you, it's going to be hard to move him off the offensive line after what I saw last weekend. Man, it was just such different level domination on just about every play. He was fantastic. Putting guys in the dirt. Combo blocking up to the second level. There's a play where he's 30 yards downfield with the center, and they're combo blocking some poor kid, down down the field. Man, it was a show, and he didn't show any signs of getting tired towards the end, going both ways. Just an awesome showing. And Naaman Forest pulled away for a 40-14 win. Trey Walton, a quarterback, had 5 touchdown passes. Jaden Flores, a baseball guy
Yeah.
out there at Naaman Forest, had 3 touchdown receptions. Just a fantastic showing. Kingsley Bennett's a fun little running back to watch. But definitely Naaman Forest put on the show. And then on Friday night, I went out to Pilot Point, and Gunter
They're like a
put
well-oiled
it.
machine, man.
It was
I think
it
people
was
sleep on Gunter.
40.
They're for a while. They were perennial state semifinalists,
They
finalists.
still are. They're
Yeah.
going to be in the state championship game this year. But it was 49-6 at halftime, and Pilot Point didn't have a first down. The
Wow.
only points they put on the board was their quarterback, playing both ways, jumped a route and had a pick six. So he put his own points on the board. It was 14-6 at that point, but Gunter and Hut Graham poured it on. Hut Graham, safe. He's going to Texas Tech as a safety, I think. 6 foot, 175, 180 pounds. Played quarterback, safety. Just punt return, punter. He did a little bit of everything for Gunner, and they poured it on. It was a tough night for Ish Harris. I do give him credit. Ish was he showed a lot of range and a lot of effort there, especially in the second half when the game was over. He had a big touchdown saving tackle down the sideline on a guy he didn't have an angle on. And it was nice to see the effort plays, but it was just a hard night for Pilot Point. And yeah, definitely gonna want to see those guys those Bearcats rebound a little bit in the next few weeks.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you brought up kind of the schedule that some of those teams have played in Dallas, and we made a lot about that last week. And I went and saw Dickinson on Friday night, and Dickinson was 1-2 coming into the game against an undefeated Pasadena Dobie team, an undefeated Pasadena Dobie team that had outscored their opponents like 188-6 through the first 3 weeks. They had a 66 and a 70-point output in 2 of their first 3 weeks. And Dickinson had 2 close losses, one to Fort Bend Ridge Point and then one to Katy, which they were both down to the wire, and those are 2 of the better programs in Houston. And I was talking to Coach John Snelson before the game about just how much I admired him playing that type of schedule, and then kind of wondering, how much do you think it'll affect you guys tonight? And he goes, well, we'll see if we get into a close one, how our kids respond. And it was pretty close there going through halftime and in and out, and then Dickinson just kept making play after play to pull away. A&M commit Donovan Green had 2 catches for 90 yards and a touchdown. Had 1 catch up the seam that really reminded you of Jalen Wademeyer, where the way he caught it and what he did after the catch, as physical as he was. Their quarterback, Luke Martin, had a huge night on the ground. I think he scored on runs of like 74, 56, and 39 on this QB power run. And then today, we're filming this on Wednesday, just saw he got his first offer from Mo Linguist at Buffalo after that performance.
Yeah.
So you love to see when kids get on the radar like that after a big night that these college coaches recognize that and present them with offers. So Dickinson ends up pulling up.
I'll tell you what.
45-27, Dickinson.
Watching those highlight clips, man, Wademeyer had some, or not Wademeyer. Green had some, Donovan had some nice blocks in there too, man.
I said on TexAgs,
I love the way they moved him around. And
I said on TexAgs Radio today that I think he's further along as a blocker than Jalen was coming out, no question.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, man, people will sleep on P.J. Williams because I think they said he measured in at 6'4" and 3/4, 267 pounds right now.
Yeah.
That kid is supremely athletic. And the upside there is just through the roof. You're going to look at a kid in 2 years who's going to be 6'5", 305, 310 pounds. And he's made that kind of progression, Jason, when you talk to people there in Dickinson, where he was like, when he was little, he was a wide receiver. He's always been a basketball player. So he's little, he's a wide receiver. Then he went to tight end, and now he's at offensive tackle. And so he's just gotten bigger and bigger, but he's maintained that athleticism. I came away very impressed with PJ in terms of what he'll be down the road for the Aggies in College Station. And obviously Donovan, one of the best tight end prospects in the country. And Dickinson does a good job of utilizing both of their strengths. So they'll put Donovan in line next to PJ. They'll put him, flexed out wide. They'll put him in motion, try to give the defense different looks. And Dickinson's got a really good stable of underclass kids, and a bunch of them made their way to College Station on Saturday and were on that visitor list. But they got a pair of 2024 DBs that I'm very bullish on right now in Nicholas Peace and Rodney Bimage. And Bimage kid I'd never heard of or seen play until the other night. I seen a little bit of Nicholas Peace in 7-on-7. But the Bimage kid, I came away going, hey, this kid's got a chance to be one of those elite lockdown corners in Greater Houston. So excited to see what they can do, Dickinson going forward. We always try to recap the entire area, Jason, and I'll tell you this. So in Houston, what I'm looking at is teams on the horizon, like on the bubble, that are coming up outside of the names that we know, outside of the Atascocita, North Shore, Katy, kind of that kind of group of teams. Even Katy Tompkins has kind of wedged their way into that elite group in Houston now. I'm looking at Cy Park, who blasted Cy Springs 62-7. I think they're averaging somewhere like north of 55 points a game on offense. I'm looking at an undefeated Katy Pato team that is coming out of nowhere. Now they're in the top 10, I believe, 5A Division I. They are number 10 in the state in 5A Division I. And I'm looking at a CE King team who we've mentioned a little bit on this show.
They look stout.
Undefeated, and they rolled Huntsville last week. And I'm just wondering if, one of those schools is ready to break through in Greater Houston. And if I had to pick, it'd probably be Cy Park, just in terms of the sheer amount of athletes that they're putting on the field right now. Houston is very interesting this year. The odds still favor, Katy, North Shore. Spring is very much in there. Spring Westfield, Atascocita. But don't sleep on those schools I just mentioned, and maybe even like a Clear Falls who's undefeated. So I think there's a lot the discrepancy between that top group and the next contenders in Greater Houston, I think, is very close right now.
I think it's that way across the state. I think you're seeing, some of those teams. Atascocita's one we've been talking about quite a bit, and has impressed us with big wins for the first few weeks of the season. And then Geyer comes out and knocks them off 46-35 there at North Texas. I mean, I thought Atascocita was gonna clip that game and maybe even get it by about the same
but you know
score
what?
that they lost. But
again, credit to Craig Stump at Atascocita. That's twice in 3 weeks they've made the drive up I-45, and you don't see teams doing that, and especially to do that and go up there and play the caliber of Allen and Denton Geyer. That's going to be a feather in Atascocita's hat down the road for sure.
Absolutely. And this is something you talked about with Dickinson. I mean, those non-conference games, those non-district games, man, that does nothing but help strengthen your team. When it comes down to playoff time, those guys have that experience. They've been in big games, and when it comes to playoffs, it's all about district seeding. So if you drop one of those games, you learn from it. And that, no doubt, that's going to be a big learning experience for Atascocita. You saw Rockwall. I mean, that's another one that's been rolling up here. They get knocked off by Highland Park, which, I mean, Highland Park's always strong, but they've been kind of, since that South Lake, loss, people have been kind of waving them off a little bit. Well, they showed up big and knocked off Rockwall last week and shut down, or contained, I guess, Noble Johnson, who's been just
going
wheeling
crazy,
and dealing over there for Rockwall. And so it was, it was nice to see Highland Park kind of re-announce their presence on the football scene. And, then you had Rockwall Heath posting 70 on North McKinney North. I mean, and I haven't even talked about Duncanville, scoring. I think they were down 14-0 to DeSoto in the first quarter, and then they stormed back for a 42-21 win. So, it was a big week in Dallas, but you're seeing, Duncanville doesn't look quite as unbeatable as they have in the past. Allen is looking vulnerable. I take Westlake and that 6A, man, man, it's
Central Texas is looking. If Austin Westlake doesn't come out of Central Texas in 6A, I'll be extremely surprised, very surprised. And they got a pretty talented Del Valle team this week, but Del Valle's talented, but they ain't in the realm of what Austin Westlake's got. I did want to get into this list that Texas high school football posted today. The top 25 6A players, their mid-season rankings. We're just going to go through the top 10, and because we've seen a lot of these kids, and I'll let you stop me when you want to give a couple of notes on some of these kids, especially the DFW ones. So we'll start Jordan Hudson at number 10. We both think he's a fantastic player. Number 9 is the aforementioned Noble Johnson. Number 8 is a kid that I'm a huge fan of, and he's growing in popularity in Greater Houston, Bishop Davenport, the quarterback at Spring. If the Lions make a run, it's going to be on the back of him. He's a really talented kid. Should have way more offers than he does. Jarrell Wembley and McKaylin Young are at 7 and 6. Number 5 is Harold Perkins. I thought maybe coming in a little low, if we're being honest. But the guys ahead of him certainly have an argument to be there. And number 4 is one of your favorites in Dallas, Ollie Gordon. Ollie he just continues to put up monster numbers. It looks like a better and better get for Oklahoma State by the week, right?
Ollie's just been tremendous. He's been playing a lot of quarterback for Euless Trinity, and he does what he does. He's one of those guys. I think we have him underrated. I know he's kind of battled through some injuries at times, but man, over the course of the spring and summer and this fall, he has really shown well. And whether it's 7-on-7 or in real games. I mean, this guy, all he does is just run for touchdowns. He is He's electric.
Workhorse.
And Oklahoma State got them a stud. That's for sure.
Number 3, 2023 wide receiver Jaquays Petaway out of Langham Creek has been one of the better players in Houston. Number 2, Cade Klubnik, quarterback, Austin Westlake. Can you guess who number 1 is?
Is it one of our favorites?
It's one of my personal favorites. If I give it away,
one of your personal favorites.
Yeah.
one of your guys that you got a long ties to. You've been touting for a long time.
Number 1's
one of the Brownies special.
Number 1 is Connor Wigman, and that's no surprise. But he's pretty interesting that Jaquays Petaway at 3. Wigman has got a game on Friday against Langham Creek, so that should be another shootout, a chance for Connor to put up some big numbers. All right, Jason, let's go ahead and turn the page to this week. We have got Walker Lott that's going to be in DFW with you, so I'll let you preview his games and yours to start, and then we'll get into Greater Houston.
Well, on Thursday, Walker's going to be out at Longview West Mesquite to watch Mr. Jalen Hell, specifically out there for Longview, 2023 receiver. Longview is really kind of they've rebounded since that massacre there in Frisco against Ryan. They found their offense, and things are starting to click in place for the Lobos. So they travel back to DFW, take on West Mesquite, and then Walker will also be at Fort Worth All Saints Liberty Christian, where Chris Palfreyman, his receiver, has a Texas A&M offer. He's kind of in that 2023 class. He kind of reminds you of the Brennan Thompson, kind of an all around, slot with a lot of speed and quickness, and just does a lot as an all around playmaker for All Saints. And then I will be at Arlington Martin to check out Arlington Martin at Choctaw Stadium, one of my favorite new venues to watch a football game, man. And it's beautiful out there watching it in the old Rangers ballpark. Get to see Javian Toviano.
By the way, one of my favorite player in 2023, Javian Toviano.
I tell you what, there's a few guys that we're going to put at 5 stars when our next ranking comes out, and Javian is one of those guys for sure, at least for me. And he has been locking them down on defense, and he's electric on offense as well. He's the leading rusher for Martin, and they also have a guy, Sergio Snyder, that's going to be fun to watch. Should be a nice little Arlington ISD battle there to start off district play for those guys.
Well, I am going to take a trip back to my old stomping grounds on Friday, hit a couple of schools, get to visit some family, and then I'm going to take in, and I'm very biased because I'm a former Nederland Bulldog, but I'm going to take in the best high school atmosphere, high school rivalry in the state of Texas, Mid-County Madness, Nederland and P&G there on the reservation in Port Neches. But and P&G does have some legitimately Power 5 prospects in their underclassmen, and Nederland is off to their best start in a while, number 10 in the state at 5A Division II, so that should be a lot of fun. And I believe David Sandhop is going to be at Fort Bend Marshall, Houston Waltrip, if I'm correct, to see a couple of A&M targets in Chris Marshall and Jacoby Banks. So getting close to the midway point, Jason, we're going to be talking rankings soon. I'm almost sure that we're going to do that and update those. It's been very interesting. I think one of the big things so far this year that when I've gone to games is that the guys you expect to be really good have been really good. I haven't been to many games and come away going, well, I'm a little underwhelmed with what I saw tonight. Like every time I go see some of these kids, whether it's A&M commits or targets, I'm coming away thinking, hey, these are really good players. And then the players that are supposed to be good around them are making plays. So it's been a lot of highly entertaining football so far for me, at least this season.
Yeah, now same here, man. I got to start out the season watching DJ Hicks at Allen and Nato Umazula. I mean, shoot, man, that's they both stood out and continue to do so. And yeah, what Marquise Deal, I mean, geez, that's going to be a tough one for for an offensive lineman to beat. Man, he was special, and he really shined, did what he was supposed to do against North Garland, where he was a little bit bigger than his competition. But yeah, it was fun to watch for sure. But I'm right there with you. And I know yeah, it's gonna be fun little slate to watch this weekend too, with several big games
Yep.
on the schedule. With I know here in Dallas we got Rockwall at Rockwall Heath, that I put the over under at like 120. I mean, it's gonna be a lot of points.
Be a
on the
late
board in
night,
that
yeah.
one. And Guyer McKinney, a lot of talent on both of those squads. McKinney with the 2024 class is just absolutely loaded, and Guyer's got Jackson Arnold, one of the top young quarterbacks in 23. Everman's the last district opponent to beat Aledo, so
Wow.
they travel to Aledo, and so that should be a good one. And then Flower Mound at Flower Mound Marcus, the Battle of the Mound. Should be a lot of fun. Nick Evers leads Flower Mound, and Marcus is always tough.
Sure.
Their leading receiver, Dallas Dudley, is the son of Ricky Dudley, former Buckeye,
Oh, yeah.
Ohio State Buckeye, All-American, first-round NFL draft pick. So it should be a lot of fun. You got a lot of playmakers in action this weekend. What about you down there in Houston?
Two more
Who are some
games I
of
want to
your big
add to your
ones?
list.
Yeah,
Carthage, Gilmer, and East
there
Texas.
you go.
That's going to be a knockdown, drag out. A lot of athletes on
No
both
doubt.
sides there. And then a sneaky good one that I'm keeping my eye on, Manville against Fort Bend Hightower. New Fort Bend Hightower head coach Cornelius Anthony got the Hurricanes quietly off to a 4-0 start. Manville comes in at 3-1. It should be a lot of fun. Those two teams get together. A lot of athletes on the field there as well. That South Houston area, man, they produce them as well as anybody. And I'm really excited to see what Coach Anthony can do there at Fort Bend Hightower. Very well thought of, very well respected. Former A&M linebacker, but very well respected in the greater Houston area coaching circles. So that's our games for the week. Games to watch, games we'll be at. For Jason Howell, I'm Ryan Brauninger, the TexAgs High School Football Show. We'll be right back here with you next week.